You may not see it, but every single day, you're either mastering your energy or letting it master you. The way you respond to stress, who you allow into your space, the thoughts you replay when no one's watching, all of it shapes your balance, your power, your peace. That's what this is about. Master your energy and find balance. Like never before isn't just a nice phrase. It's a call to reclaim the part of you that's been scattered by noise, stress, people-pleasing, and non-stop distractions. Because energy isn't just about stamina, it's about direction. And balance isn't found in doing less. It's found in doing what truly matters. In this episode, we'll walk through 7 timeless lessons, quiet truths that you can return to again and again, whenever life feels loud and off-center. Listen not just once, but as often as you need. Let these words become a mirror, a practice, a reminder. And if something in this message speaks to you, pause, reflect. Then share it with someone who needs to hear it too, whether it's a friend, your brother, or even your younger self. If you find value here, don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment with your favorite insight, or share a story from your own journey. This is not just a video, it's a space for men who are ready to rise quietly, but with intention. Let's begin. 1. Awareness is the root of all personal power. In a world constantly pulling at your attention, the quietest battles are often the ones inside your mind. Most men don't lose their energy because of hard work. They lose it because they never learned to notice where it was going. You wake up already tired, not because your body is overworked, but because your mind never stopped running. It wandered through regrets you can't fix, imagined problems that haven't happened, and false stories that keep replaying on a loop. You scroll through your phone like it might offer you direction or reassurance, but every swipe chips away at the only thing that truly matters, your mental energy. And while it feels harmless in the moment, over time, it leaves you scattered, reactive, and strangely disconnected from your own life. The truth is, mental energy control isn't something most men are taught. It's not discussed in classrooms. It's rarely modeled by those around us. Yet it's the foundation of everything else: focus, strength, clarity, and even self-respect. Without awareness, you live in reaction. Without awareness, you confuse movement for progress. The mind drifts, and with it your power. So the first step toward mastering your energy is not about adding more to your day. It's about subtracting what doesn't belong. It's about choosing to stop, even for just a second, and asking a brutally honest question. Where am I right now? Not physically, but mentally. Are you in the present? Or are you stuck replaying what she said, what he didn't do, what you wish you'd said? This is where power begins, not in action, but in attention. Because when you start noticing the small leaks, the pointless overthinking, the silent resentment, the compulsive distractions, you also start noticing your ability to change. It's not about controlling every thought. That's impossible. But it is about building the habit of coming back. Back to center. Back to now. Back to what actually deserves your energy. And the more you practice this, the more your inner clarity sharpens. You stop fighting shadows in your head and start directing your attention with purpose. That's how Stoic calm power grows. Not by ignoring emotions, but by refusing to be enslaved by unconscious reactions. Men who embody quiet strength don't react to every trigger. They don't broadcast their inner storms. They simply observe, then choose. That choice is where true freedom lies. Because the moment you realize your mind can either be your battlefield or your sanctuary, everything changes. You begin to reclaim your time. You become intentional with your energy. You speak less but with more precision. You move slower but with unshakable purpose. There is a discipline in stillness, a strategy in silence, and a kind of emotional self-mastery that no external reward can replace. Every time you pause to observe instead of react, you reinforce your position as the master, not the servant of your own inner world. This isn't about self-help jargon. It's about energy management techniques that are brutally simple yet rarely practiced. Sit quietly. Feel the breath. Notice where your thoughts go. Interrupt the automatic loops. Even a 10-second return to presence can change the course of your next hour. And that hour, multiplied over days, becomes a life. One that's no longer ruled by chaos, but directed by clarity. You cannot find balance if you're mentally absent from your own life. You cannot protect your energy if you don't know where it's bleeding out. And you will never feel powerful if you're constantly reacting to noise that doesn't deserve your focus. Awareness is not just the root of personal power, it is the gatekeeper of every higher habit. And the sooner you build it into your daily rhythm, the faster you'll feel yourself becoming the kind of man who no longer chases balance, but lives from it. 2. Learn to say no without guilt. There's a quiet war inside every man who's been taught that being agreeable is the price of being accepted. You smile when you don't mean it. You say yes when everything in your body whispers no. You stretch yourself thin to avoid disappointing others, family, coworkers, friends, believing that your worth is tied to how useful you are. But there comes a moment when this way of living turns against you. You wake up tired, not because of the workload, but because you've given so much of your energy away that you don't recognize what's left. You're no longer making decisions, you're reacting to demands. And without realizing it, you've handed over the steering wheel of your life to the expectations of people who wouldn't even notice if you broke down. That's why learning to say no isn't selfish. It's sacred. It's one of the purest forms of energy protection. Because every time you say yes out of guilt, you're betraying your own mental balance. You're training yourself to put others first, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of being seen as rude, ungrateful, or less than agreeable. But your energy is not public property. It is not something to be auctioned off to whoever shows up loudest. You are not a bottomless well of yes. You are a finite source of presence, focus, and attention. And if you give it all away just to avoid discomfort, you won't just get tired. You'll vanish into a version of yourself that you can't respect. Saying no is a discipline. It's a form of emotional self-mastery that demands you face the discomfort of boundaries without running from it. Because yes, some people will be disappointed. Some will get quiet, some will guilt trip, some will disappear altogether. Let them. That's the gift of clarity. When you stop bending, you begin to see who only stayed because you made it easy for them to take. You begin to notice which relationships were built on your silence. And more importantly, you begin to reconnect with what you actually want, what you value, what you no longer need to explain. When you say no without guilt, you take control of your time. You take back your presence. You start showing up in places that deserve your energy and stop lingering in spaces that drain it. This is how men build quiet strength, not by pleasing everyone, but by pleasing the right things. Purpose, clarity, discipline, and peace. And make no mistake, this is not about coldness, it's about wholeness. When you guard your time and energy, you become more available for the things that truly matter. You become sharper in your thinking, you move with intention. You develop the kind of stoic, calm power that doesn't need to be loud to be respected. Many people confuse boundaries with distance, but distance isn't always a rejection, it's a reset. It's how you realign your life so that what stays near you is what feeds you. Every healthy no you say builds the internal structure of a man who knows who he is and where he's going. And without that, balance is impossible. You'll always be scattered, pulled, and distracted by the needs of others until you no longer recognize your own. If you truly want to master your energy, you must be willing to disappoint others rather than betray yourself. You must stop performing peace and start protecting it. That begins the moment you say no, clearly, calmly, without guilt. Because that moment marks the return of your center. And in that center, your power waits, untouched by the noise. 3. Clarity comes when your energy aligns with your purpose. There's a specific kind of emptiness that haunts even the busiest man. It creeps in quietly, usually at night, when the noise has faded and you're finally alone with your own thoughts. You think back on the day and realize you were moving non-stop, checking boxes, staying efficient, showing up for everyone and everything. But despite all of it, you didn't feel alive. You were present, but disconnected. Productive, but hollow. That feeling isn't a sign that you're lazy or broken. It's a signal that your energy is spent without meaning. You're not lacking discipline. You're lacking direction. And that is the deeper crisis. When your energy isn't aligned with your purpose, every action feels heavy. You feel like you're dragging yourself through the day, hoping that checking off one more task will somehow bring a sense of peace. But peace doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters, and what matters will never be decided for you. You have to choose it. This is where inner strength habits begin to take root. Not in forcing progress, but in asking the harder question: why am I doing this at all? Without that question, your life becomes a performance of expectations. You become efficient at being lost. And no amount of external success can fix the internal chaos that comes from chasing goals that don't belong to you. However, when your energy starts aligning with your real purpose, you move differently. There's less urgency, but more clarity. You speak less, but your words carry weight. You walk slower, but every step lands with intention. You begin to feel something rare in this noisy world: peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're finally walking in a direction that feels honest. This is what it means to build daily inner balance. Not by avoiding stress, but by choosing what deserves your energy in the first place. Purpose isn't always grand. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's not a career or title, but a way of showing up, a deeper commitment to your values, a quiet promise you made to yourself that you refuse to break. That promise can become your compass. And when your energy starts to obey that compass, you begin to access a level of focus that no productivity hack can replicate. It's the kind of focus that doesn't come from pressure, but from truth. And that truth pulls you forward. You don't have to force it. You don't have to chase it. You just have to stay aligned with it. This is the foundation of emotional self-mastery. Learning to listen to your own life before it turns into a crisis. Most men don't burn out from overworking. They burn out from working without meaning. The mind and body can endure a lot, but the soul? The soul will rebel when ignored. And it does so quietly, in the form of fatigue you can't explain, resentment you can't place, and a low-grade anxiety that follows you even into rest. Clarity is what begins to heal that. But it doesn't shout. It whispers. It's found in still moments, when you allow yourself to stop and ask, is the life I'm building one I actually want to live? And if the answer isn't clear, that's where the work begins. Not by doing more, but by reclaiming your energy and redirecting it towards something worthy. Mastery isn't about intensity, it's about alignment. And when alignment takes root, everything begins to move in rhythm. The noise fades, the pressure lifts, and for the first time in a long time, you no longer feel like you're spinning. You feel like you're arriving. 4. Rest is not laziness, it's a strategy for strength. There's a lie that has seeped into the minds of men. The idea that stillness is weakness, that rest means you're falling behind, that if you're not always grinding, someone else is taking your place. This belief doesn't push you forward, it quietly breaks you. It teaches you to fear pause, to resist softness, to treat recovery as failure. But truth, the kind that lasts, doesn't exist in motion alone. It exists in rhythm. And any man who's mastered his energy knows that strength doesn't come from being constantly on. It comes from knowing when to step back, when to let silence do what noise can't. That's not a retreat. That's strategy. You are not a machine. You are not meant to run 24 hours on pure output. Even engines break when pushed too long without calibration. Even warriors sit still before battle. The Stoics understood this long before our world equated exhaustion with excellence. They knew that wisdom doesn't scream, it waits. That discipline isn't measured by how long you can go without rest, but by how deeply you honor the cycles of tension and release. And when you rest with intention, not as an escape, but as a form of mental energy control, you don't lose progress, you regain clarity. In fact, most men don't fail because they lack ambition. They fail because they lack recovery. You keep pushing, forcing, sprinting, until one day the body gives out, the mind goes numb, and everything that once mattered begins to feel like a weight. That's not resilience. That's disconnection. Because no matter how strong your discipline is, if you never stop to breathe, you'll eventually burn through what made you strong in the first place. Rest is the moment your body stops performing and starts repairing. It's the quiet space where your thoughts settle, your focus returns, and your purpose realigns. You don't get there by pushing harder. You get there by respecting your need to pause. When you start treating rest as emotional self-mastery, something shifts. You stop feeling guilty for sitting in silence. You stop labeling stillness as laziness. You begin to recognize that daily inner balance isn't found in endless doing. It's found in knowing what actually needs to be done and when to stop. That wisdom is rare, because it requires you to listen not to the world's pressure, but to your own body. To trust the moments when you feel off, to step away before a breakdown forces you to, and in doing so, you start building a kind of strength that doesn't look impressive from the outside, but inside, it's unshakable. Rest teaches you that power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet walk without your phone. Sometimes it's choosing stillness over stimulation. Sometimes it's sleeping when others are posting wins. You're not falling behind. You're reclaiming inner peace, which is the only sustainable edge in a world obsessed with motion. When you rest right, you come back focused, not foggy. Present, not scattered. And strong, not just in body, but in intent. So don't just collapse into sleep. Choose to rest. Practice it. Protect it. Because without it, your energy loses direction, your purpose gets cloudy, and your strength fades beneath the weight of constant noise. But with it, you gain what most men never will. Clarity that doesn't rush, calm that doesn't crack, and power that doesn't depend on being seen. Rest is not the absence of effort, it's the beginning of mastery. And a man who rests with purpose becomes a man who cannot be moved. 5. You become the average energy of the people around you. No matter how strong you think you are, the people around you shape you. Not through force, but through presence. Through tone. Through the way they speak when life disappoints them, or how they carry their weight in silence. You think you're immune until their energy starts sounding like your own inner voice. And by the time you notice, your mindset has already shifted. Not because you made a conscious choice, but because you stayed close to long enough to what drains rather than builds. You don't just inherit genetics, you inherit energy. So when you're constantly surrounded by cynicism, doubt becomes your default. When you're surrounded by bitterness, peace starts to feel naive. Even your hope begins to shrink to fit the emotional temperature of the room. This is why protecting your energy isn't just about habits or schedules, it's about people. The human nervous system is wired to adapt, to sync with the environment it's in. So when you stay in the presence of those who carry unresolved pain and unspoken resentment, you absorb it, even if they never say a word. You learn their patterns, you adopt their hesitation, you mirror their moods without realizing it. Eventually you start feeling heavy for no reason, fatigued even after rest, anxious in the middle of stillness. That's not weakness, that's resonance. That's what happens when you let your mental energy be shaped by energies that don't belong to your path. But this truth has a flip side, because just as negativity spreads, so does quiet strength. When you spend time with people who live with clarity, who speak with conviction, who carry themselves with stoic calm, something inside you begins to rise. Not by effort, but by reflection. You start thinking bigger. You start listening better. You start questioning your own limits, not because they pushed you, but because their very presence reminded you of who you could be. That's the power of energy multipliers. They don't demand your growth, they invite it. And if you're wise, you learn to stay near. You're not just choosing a company, you're choosing your emotional baseline. Every conversation is a small recalibration of your mind. Every relationship either lifts your center or lowers it. So ask yourself honestly, do you feel stronger after time with them or smaller? Do you leave feeling calm, focused, and aligned? Or do you leave feeling like you've betrayed your own peace again just to keep the connection alive? That answer may hurt, but it reveals what you need to change. Energy is contagious. But unlike a virus, you get to choose the exposure. You get to decide who gets close enough to shift your center. That's not arrogance, that's discipline. You're not meant to carry the weight of people who refuse to heal, who mock ambition, who wear sarcasm like armor and call it personality. You're meant to walk with those who remind you to stay grounded, even when life shakes. People whose silence calms you more than others' noise ever could. It's not always easy. Sometimes, choosing peace means walking alone for a while. It means stepping back from familiar voices, from long-standing friendships, from shared pasts. But that space you create, it clears the way for better alignment, for inner peace, for people who see the version of you that isn't diluted. And in that space, your energy will stop reacting and start rising. Not to match the world, but to reflect your purpose. That's not just a connection. That's mastery. 6. Negative emotions are not enemies. They are signals from a young age. Most men are taught the same lesson. Don't show too much. Don't cry. Don't panic. Don't get too angry. Swallow it down and keep moving. That kind of thinking may help you survive short-term, but long-term, it does something else. It turns your emotional world into a locked room, sealed tight, silent on the outside, but boiling underneath. And eventually, something breaks. Because the truth is this: emotions don't vanish when ignored. They transform, they harden, and then they show up later in sharper, more dangerous forms: sudden rage, cold detachment, quiet depression, silent self-sabotage. That's not a strength. That's damage unprocessed. What we call negative emotions, anger, fear, sadness, are not flaws. They are signals. They're messages from your inner life trying to tell you that something needs attention. Anger, for example, is rarely just anger. It's often pain with no voice. It's a boundary crossed, a betrayal unresolved, or a value that's been ignored too many times. When you suppress it, you don't heal. You just bury something that will one day rise harder. But when you sit with it, breathe through it, and name it, it loses its chaos. It starts to make sense. And once you understand it, you can choose what to do with it. The same is true with fear. Fear gets a bad name in a world obsessed with domination and control. But fear isn't weakness. It's information. It tells you that you're on the edge of something important. It signals that something valuable is at stake. When mastered, fear can sharpen your instincts, heighten your mental discipline, and force you to get clear about what matters most. The problem is not fear itself. It's your refusal to face it. When you try to pretend it's not there, it controls you in the background. But when you name it, when you examine it with honesty, you reclaim your direction. Even sadness has power. It's the emotion most associated with weakness, yet it often holds the key to what you've forgotten. Sadness slows you down, not to punish, but to invite reflection. It opens the door to meaning. When sadness shows up, it may be telling you that a chapter is closing, that a piece of your identity no longer fits, or that something sacred needs your attention. If you push past it too quickly, you miss the lesson. But if you sit with it, not forever but long enough, you often find that sadness softens into clarity, and that clarity becomes fuel. To master your energy, you don't need to erase emotion. You need to translate it. You need to observe what rises in you without judgment and learn the language of your own storms. That's the core of emotional self-control. Not becoming numb, but becoming aware. A man who can name his emotion is no longer ruled by it. He doesn't act on impulse. He responds with precision. He understands the difference between a trigger and a truth, between a wave and a warning. And in that understanding, he becomes unshakable. This is where quiet confidence comes from, not from being above emotion, but from being inside it without drowning. Most men think Stoicism is about being hard, but real Stoicism is about being clear. It's about feeling deeply and still having the discipline to pause. And that pause, it creates power. Because once you know what you're feeling and why, you're no longer stuck reacting. You're choosing. You're directing your energy instead of leaking it. And in that quiet clarity, you become the man who doesn't just survive chaos, he guides through it. 7. Gratitude and presence are the twin wings of inner peace. Most men spend their lives waiting for peace, hoping it'll arrive when the noise dies down, when the money comes in, when the pressure finally lifts. But peace was never designed to be a destination. It's not hiding at the end of some perfect schedule or buried inside your next achievement. It lives in one place only, in the stillness you've been avoiding. Because peace doesn't come when life gets easier. It comes the moment your mind stops running from what is. The moment you stop arguing with the present, stop chasing every what if, and begin noticing the simple truth. You are still here, still breathing, still alive. And that, by itself, means more than you think. Gratitude is not a decoration. It's not a line in a journal or a quote you repost. It's a discipline, a decision to pause and see clearly, to recognize what's already good before you lose it or before someone else has to remind you of its worth. The warmth of sunlight, the steady rhythm of your own breath, a quiet morning where nothing dramatic happens, and that in itself is a blessing. These are not small things. They are the anchors of mental clarity in a world that tells you you need more just to be okay. When you practice gratitude, not perform it, You begin to see that life has never stopped offering peace. You've just been too distracted to receive it. But gratitude alone isn't enough if your mind is still locked in yesterday or worried about what comes next. That's where presence completes the equation. Presence is not passive, it is an active return. It is choosing again and again to come back to now, to this breath, to this moment. It's what happens when you stop chasing life fast enough to finally feel it. And when that presence pairs with genuine gratitude, something shifts. You begin to move differently. You stop rushing. You stop needing every outcome to go your way just to feel grounded. You begin to trust that what's unfolding in front of you deserves your full attention. Even if it's not exciting, even if it's not what you planned. This is the foundation of emotional self-mastery, learning to be in the moment without needing it to be perfect. You let go of the urge to control every variable, to rehearse every conversation in advance, to stress about paths you haven't walked yet. Instead, you listen, you observe. You respond with calm, not because nothing's wrong, but because your energy is no longer scattered. You're not reacting, you're rooted. And in that grounded awareness, you discover a truth most men never learn. That balance isn't built by managing time. It's built by managing attention. Gratitude and presence are not separate ideas. They are two wings of the same truth. Together, they lift you out of overthinking. They release you from the lie that peace requires perfect conditions. You can be in chaos and still carry calm. You can have a full schedule and still feel light, but only if you choose to see what's already here. The men who learn this don't need loud victories to feel worthy. They don't need validation to feel alive. They walk with quiet confidence, not because life is easy, but because they no longer abandon the moment they're in. So the next time your mind starts to drift, gently bring it back. Feel the breath. Scan the room. Remember that presence is a form of power, and gratitude is how you stay aligned with what matters. Do this often enough, and peace won't feel like a rare guest. It will feel like home, not someday, now. Mastering your energy isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters, with clarity, intention, and discipline. When you begin to protect your energy, align it with purpose, and ground it in presence, you stop living on autopilot. You stop reacting and start responding. You no longer chase validation or fear stillness. Instead, you carry quiet strength, practice emotional self-mastery, and build a life that reflects your deepest values. Balance doesn't come from controlling everything around you. It comes from learning to control what's within you. If this video spoke to something inside you, if it reminded you of what you've been ignoring, postponing, or silently enduring, take a moment to share your story in the comments. Your experience might be the reminder someone else needs. And if you found even one insight worth remembering, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content on how to live with calm power, mental clarity, and inner discipline. This isn't just about surviving the day. It's about learning to live it fully, presently, and without wasting the energy that was never meant to be given away. Your balance begins the moment you decide to protect it. Start now. Stay steady, and keep coming back to what matters.